reason. I don't
Let's
use Twitch, but
go.
I see myself in the chat. Those with Dion 20. Hey, I know zero people are watching over there. But you know what? There are people watching over here, man. They're watching on my channel. They're watching on my man Let's Talk Lions channel. Yo, I'm pumped for this because here's what I did. This is right after I texted you. I was taking a shower and I was thinking, I'm like, man, the pregame shows are fun, but it's like what you said to me. You want to have someone to talk to. And now, we have the chat, but it's just like pregame is about energy. It's about hype. You know what I'm saying? So I just need someone to share that kind of energy this
Oh
morning.
yeah.
And I think we got the right person for that. We got the good looking background. I mean, look, man, it's just
Uh,
I'm excited to be here. How you doing? It's good to see you, by
Dude,
the way.
I'm gonna tell you this, man. That was the most smooth intro. I didn't even know we were rolling. Had no idea we were rolling. Next thing I know, I see
Yeah.
people commenting over on the side. I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, you're like a real commentator over here, dude." I'm doing
I'll be
good.
honest.
I'm
I'll
I'm
be
on my
honest. This is
second
what
cup of
happened.
coffee, dude.
Second cup. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, let me get start right there. Let's start right there. Okay. Let's back up. What do you? Are you just drinking black coffee, or did you like? You're kind of a flavor type of guy.
So 90% of the time, I'm always just a black cup of coffee. However, recently, over the last month, weirdly enough, my wife went out and bought some half and half, and I've been dropping that
Uh-huh.
in there, and I'm like, this is freaking good. It's
Ooh.
different taste, but I like it. Plus, you get some fat in there, and it fills you up for longer.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. So I actually, what is half and half? Like, what flavor is that?
I
I
mean,
see it. I just don't know
it's
what that.
just milk. It's I think it's like just super creamy milk. It's very condensed. My wife's a dietitian. If she heard me say it's just super creamy milk, she would probably come in here right now. She'd be like, "What are you talking about?"
Super cute. Hey, that's good though, because then I can kind of understand. Like, oh, okay, I gotcha. Just like
Yeah,
some
yeah,
super
yeah,
cream milk. I can understand
yeah.
that. So I no, it's good. Here's the other thing I want to say with the intro. I don't have like a video intro right now, so that's why I did that because it's like I don't really have like a good
Um,
setup. So we just kind of talking, man. We just getting right to it, and I can
bro,
see the
I'm
chats
hyped.
popping right now. Why I said we are going to talk about this, and because I think more people may come in as we go. Let's get the depression a little bit out of the way. I think that's the biggest thing is like let's hit it, let's get it out of the way, let's move forward. Taylor Decker's not playing, and it's like here's the thing. This is kind of how I look at it. If there's outside of our quarterback, and I won't talk about it, but you know what I'm saying. If there was a guy that I would say, man, that makes me nervous, it's losing him for this game. And I don't even think this is like if we were playing the Niners, it'd be like, oh dang, this is a problem because they got Bosa over there. They don't have that. I don't look at any of their edge rushers and
No.
say they got that dude. So I'm like, okay, this is probably not the worst team to face with that issue, but at the same time, it's like that's the guy we can't miss. I mean, what you're just like you just heard it. It sounds like so. What's your like initial reaction to hearing that news that Taylor Decker's out?
Yeah, so like I knew he was questionable with the ankle and him walking out in that boot. I think I made a video about it like 3 days ago. But this whole time I'm like, the smart move is keep him for the long haul. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want Decker week 4 against the Packers. I want him week 7. I want him after the bye. So to me, I'm like, let's protect him. But it's not good news, Dose. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
good
yeah.
news.
It's
But also,
yeah,
like, I think our O line, we've got enough strength. I'm just going to be really intrigued to see what's the plan. Is Penne
right.
like my guess is we're keeping him at right tackle, and then you bring Vitae over, and maybe Glasgow at guard is kind of where my mind is. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know where you're at, but I think overall I feel I'm bummed because our O line is our greatest strength, and when Goff has time, our offense is popping. It's popping. So a little worried knowing that Decker's gone. He's a pivotal player for the O line. So I don't love it. But once we get Vitae in, I think if he's playing left tackle and we get the game rolling by, I don't know, 2 drives, I feel like he should be feeling sufficient back there because I trust our depth.
right. Yeah, no, see, and that's actually what I was going to ask you next because that's kind of where I've been. Like, what do we do with this? I know in the past, now it's different because there was a lot of changing pieces. But 2 years ago, I know we just put Matt Nelson in, and then we kicked Penei Sewell. So then, Big V never really moved, and it would have
Yeah,
made sense. Like I thought coming into it, it's like, oh, just move Big V. He played tackle when we signed him, so just do that. And then
right.
they didn't. So it has me kind of concerned because I'll show some stats here in a second. But when I looked at some of their latest moves, they recently they elevated, or I think they elevated KO'd their guard off the practice squad. So it makes me think that from a numbers way to look at it, because you have KO and you also have Sorstal. They're both interior linemen. I mean, Sorstal, I guess, played a little bit of tackle, but they're both interior linemen. Because you have that, it makes me think that their plan may be to move Big V, because now you have that depth where I can put Glasgow in. I still have 2 backup guards. Like, why would I need a 3rd backup guard if I'm going to leave Big V at guard? Because then I don't have a
Right.
backup tackle unless
Right.
my backup tackle is Sorstal. So, like, to me, it would make sense to move Big V. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I mean, I don't know what's going to work best. I don't know. I would think, and I thought tackle. I'm always like, man, we need to address backup tackle. But I would think that with how long Matt Nelson has been here, they continue to bring him around. They have to feel like somewhat confident in his ability, in like terms of he's gotten better. Like, he's not the
Yeah.
same dude that he was when he first got here. I mean, what would make you most confident, do you think, with kind of the front 5?
Most confident is going to be keeping center to right the same. I
Yeah.
love Penne, and obviously he was a left tackle, but he's been playing in the NFL now. This is I think it's his 3rd year, right? So
Right.
that's 2 full seasons under your belt at right tackle. I think you just keep him there. You keep that right side solid, and then on the left, personally, I would go, like I said earlier, I really like Big V shifted all the way to the left and putting Glasgow in at that guard position.
Yeah.
Glasgow coming back here was so cool. Like I know, like even just his relationship between Decker and Ragnow as well. But like I always liked him. And a lot of people will point to his time in Denver and they'll be like, oh, well, look at the stats. He sucked. And I'm like, okay, but let's look at the overall line. Let's look at, like, you got to take a lot into account. And I don't think it was him that was personally, like, he was the problem. There were so many problems that, like, you're playing on the line against other big boys and you're trying to hold your own and you're getting beat here and there. All in all, I think Denver was the problem. So I like Glasgow, and I think sticking him here in the guard position, he should be sufficient. So Big V, Glasgow, and then same on the center and right.
And I would, to your point, like I do think it tells a lot that they, if you think back to even just training camp, the amount of times they would just rotate between Big V and Glasgow. Now I know like it was about, him being healthy, but it felt like there was a real opportunity there for Glasgow to just start. Like it was like, hey man, this guy could be the guy for them. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty confident with him plugging in a guard. So I'm with you. It's about that tackle spot. Now someone asked, and I think he has the little like paper clip. I think that's supposed to be, my man Danny Young, who says, are we going to leave a tight end to block on the left side? So I'm assuming that this is from your chat. So shout out to Danny Young. What do you think? Like, I mean, I would assume so. I'm assuming they're going to throw some help, whoever that is, their way. Even if that is Big V, you still need to help that dude. But I don't know. Do you have any more thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's actually a great point coming from Danny Young. I like that. Yeah, I think here's where you're going to see Brock Wright specifically. I think this is where we're going to get him in the game and utilize him more. And that's a solid play, a solid idea, because Big V is going to need help. I'm not sitting here saying like, oh yeah, I'm super confident in Big V playing left tackle. Right. I'm saying that's where the most of my confidence is going to go in. It still might not be a lot, but I'm like, I trust that he can get the job done, but we do have to give him support. And I like that. I think the tight end, putting in a guy like Brock Wright there to really lay some blocks and add that support is probably solid.
Yeah. And now I want to show this, because I said I had the stats, so I just want to show it. Look, things changed, right? Okay, this is not the same guy from that time, but I am saying that this is a 2020 stat. Now I know this is very confusing. All right, so let me say it's confusing for me, and I made the thing. All right, but this is back in 2020, and the reason there was more factors, like we basically had no receivers that year, but you can see the first 8 games with no Taylor Decker, the pressure percentage that teams had was over 20% on us.
Wow.
It basically dropped in half when Decker came back. So it's like you're getting 2 times the pressure. Now, again, if this is a 1-week thing, okay. And to your point, to what you just talked about there with bringing a tight end, like if it's Matt Nelson at left tackle, I trust him to run block. And I think against this team, like I think he's fine as a run block. It's the pass protection. So to your point, like Brock Wright, okay, help us a little bit there. I think Sam Laporta did some things in pass protection too, because he moves so well. Though I don't want to keep him in a ton, you know what I'm saying? But he can do that. The final point I'll make about this, and I want to get to see, we're diving all the way into this. I thought this was quick to it, but that's fine. Hey, look, here's the last point I want to ask you. So Matt Nelson, say they want to come in, because I was going back and watching last time we played this team. We used Nelson a lot of times, that 6th offensive lineman. I think we all like him in that role the best. If the Lions want to do that, does that force them to put someone else at the tackle position? That way they can allow themselves to put Matt Nelson in the game in that role. Or do you just say, you know what, we're not doing that again. We're going to use Laporta as kind of that lead blocker that Matt Nelson was last year. Like, how do you? I think that's an impact. I think it's an impact that they come in and say we want to use a lot of Matt Nelson as sixth offensive lineman. So I think if you do that, you might have to put someone else at left tackle just to allow him to free him up to play that role.
No, I think that's a great point. That's solid, and it's really a simple answer. I think that becomes a very simple fix to what is even I'm seeing what's his name, Donkey Kong. Hey man, down in B never works well in Super Smash Bros. No, I think that is a very simple answer to it. And you're right. Hey man, we're overthinking it. You know why? Because it's game 2. It's our season opener.
This is true.
And we want the W.
This is okay. Well, let's overthink it a little bit more because now I'm like, hey, hold up, just a little bit more. Last time we did put Nelson in, we did put, to your point, Penei Sewell at left tackle. And
yes.
we did start Nelson, but he went to right tackle. He didn't play at left tackle. So could that be something as well? Like, do they say, okay, we'd rather have Penei Sewell at left tackle? If we are going to sell Nelson, it could be that simple. I probably am overthinking this. But it could flip the spot still. Well, yeah, it was, you mean like when we put Nelson in the start? I mean, that was until Decker came back.
Oh, and that was all 2020?
Yes, because do you remember, like, we remember coming in to the year and we said, okay, he's a left tackle, he's gonna move to right tackle Lions. And then once we found out Decker was out, they're like, oh, they're putting him back at left tackle. And there was like, oh, this might be rough. And the first game was against Bosa. So they may go do that. I don't know. Look, man, we making content out of this right now. So,
hey, that was the year. You're right, though. That was when we played. Yeah, we're overthinking. We're overthinking. Let's calm down a little bit.
Yeah, this is all me. This is all me. Look, man.
No, I love it. I love it. Don't you ever stop.
Oh my goodness. But okay, so we can move on from that. I want to just get your quick thoughts. I'm gonna throw some names in terms of moves that they made, and I just want to go like, oh, okay, boom, this is what I think about this. So Josh Pascal to IR.
What's wrong with you, man? Why do you got to do this to me? I didn't know he's on the IR. Is he on the IR?
Yeah, he got placed on IR. I guess like their latest like roster moves. I think it was Friday. Put him on IR.
I saw that he was out and that he had an episode, which I did not like the term episode. Didn't know he got placed on the IR. That is so disappointing because seeing him against Kansas City and the pressure that kid was bringing, him stepping into the role that we've expected out of him. Oh my God. That sucked, man. That blows. How can something blow?
Well, hey, that's
the same time. I don't know.
that's an excellent like initial reaction to that one. Shout out to my man Lions fan. One Paulie LFP, my man. He says Lions win 56-0. I love it. I appreciate you. And this is
what is this, Madden?
You're saying you don't believe that that's going to be the score today? I thought that's what everybody was thinking coming into this. Yeah,
Lions fan Paulie, my boy. I don't know if I'm going 56-0. I do like the idea of the 50 bomb, but I think the Lions take this 27-17.
Wait, time out. We can't start like this.
Oh, did I go too quick? That's my bad.
No. You didn't go too quick. What I'm trying to figure out, right, is how you stole my notes before the show started. Because what I'm seeing here, right, I literally wrote down 27-17 Lions. So I'm trying to figure out what's happening.
Let's freaking go. That's the same wavelength. And if this game does end 27-17, then everybody better bet next week regarding what we say the score is going to be.
That is fact. And you better check out that post-game show on my man's channel because you already know, like, I've never gotten a score right. So, boom, there we go. You gotten a score. Can you remember a time where you were like, hey, man, I nailed that score?
No. I'm usually off by a little bit there. It's you never know what's going to happen in the game of football, you know?
Yeah. Okay, that's crazy. That's actually crazy how you said that. Okay. I don't remember. Some of the roster moves. So, yeah, Josh Pass, that stinks, man. He did talk about like more Isaiah Buggs possibly or Romeo. I mean, neither of them are the same piece though. You know, like I almost feel like with Buggs, you can get like some of what you want out of Pascal. Like you get like part of it, and Romeo, you can get like some of what you want out of Pascal. But neither of them are Pascal. Neither of them are that size that plays that role. So more John Kaminsky, I guess. All right, I'm gonna give you another one.
Okay.
Khalil Dorsey to IR. Maybe this one isn't as long, but Khalil Dorsey to IR, the cornerback.
That's a bummer. I really think he was proving himself pretty well. So that's tough to hear. God, I saw it was an illness, right? He had an illness.
That's right. Yeah.
earlier this week, I didn't. Man, again, I missed that these guys went to IR. He was placed on
See, I
injured
just
reserve.
saw this today. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just saw this today,
God.
so that's it's kind of breaking news for me too. But yeah, I think that actually it was illness, wasn't it? I kind of
Yes, it was.
just overlooked that.
So 4 weeks. What kind
It's
of
kind of
illness do
weird.
you have for 4 weeks that you're gone?
God dang, dang, I don't even know. That's. I mean, is that like a open up a? What would that be? Are they opening up a roster spot or something? I mean, I mean, look, that's the one way to. I don't know. That's crazy. Who do you think will give us our first L? Okay, so this is not exactly the transition we wanted to make here.
That's not.
You know what I'm saying? You kind of, but I appreciate you,
My
and
God.
you know, we will answer the question. I'll throw it to you first.
Oh
Who do you
God, you
think gives us
had to
the
throw
first
to
L?
me first. You son
Yeah,
of a
yeah. I'm not
gun.
taking that question. Look, he
All
had the
right.
paper clip. You got it. You had that. You
I'm
hold that down.
I'm going to offend people with this answer, and I know it's coming. Now, originally when I did my record prediction, I had us losing to the Chiefs first. Then all of a sudden Kelsey was out. I was feeling pretty good. We win that game. Looking at it, I really believe that the first game we lose is Carolina, and I hate to say those words. And people are going to be like, it's home against Carolina. You're wrong, blah, blah, blah. I hope to God I'm wrong. Do you hear me? I hope I'm wrong. But there's just something going on in Carolina that I can see between the coaching staff and the players where by week 5, I think they're going to get a little juice. They're going to get a little spark. Now, it's a home game. We should win it. I just think something weird happens because by the time we get to Carolina, we're going to be 4-0. We will be 4-0. And it's going to
Wow.
get a little dicey. So I'm going Carolina. I'm
Mm.
sorry, everybody. You can tell me how much you hate me. I accept it. I don't want it. But that's my guess.
No, I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with. I mean, I think we saw last week that it's kind of like you can lose to anybody, man. You can lose
You
to
can lose to
anybody,
anybody.
and
Right.
yo, you put it on it, man. It's too early to start putting things I think on paper like that. Like you really like for example the spreads. Like
Yeah.
have you seen some of the are insane? And it's like they're not even they've been way off on some of those. Man,
Yeah.
if you're going off of like what we predict early, you got to give it some time to kind of figure out what this is really going to look like.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Yeah.
mad at that.
Because here, Dose,
Listen,
and this one
yeah,
goes
go
out to
ahead.
Ken and to everybody in the chat. By the time week 5 comes around, that could easily change. Carolina could be in a situation where you're looking and you're like, okay, they are bad. They are not good. They are not ready yet. And maybe we are rolling. Maybe, we get Josh Pascal back by this time. So looking at it, I can sit here today and be like, I'm thinking Carolina. But by the time that rolls around, when I make a video about it and I all of a sudden predict the Lions to win, don't be too angry.
Yeah, like I'm putting that disclaimer out there. There's a really good chance that I won't predict a loss this season, and it's just like I'm not trying to do it. I'm not trying to do it. It's not that I legitimately believe we're gonna go 17-0. It's that it's hard for me to bring myself when I make that video to be like, I think we lose this week. It's like you know what I mean?
But
you find a way to be like, if this happens, go.
Yeah. No, but I really think we can go toe-to-toe with anybody. We proved it against the Chiefs. I'm sitting here and I'm like, I want Philly. I want San Francisco. I want Dallas. Give us the good. I cannot wait to play any of these teams that were like, oh, that's going to be a tough matchup. I'm like, good. I want it. Where in years past, you're like, oh, God, we got to play them. Now I'm like, no, let's go. I want the boys to prove who they are.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. All right, we'll go a couple more here. So Chase Lucas was signed to the roster. So I guess that was one. I mean, that's probably in light of the Khalil Dorsey move. Part of that, I think, you obviously have Stephen Gilmore, who can play on the outside. Plus Will Harris, he may play a little more on the outside too, because Chase Lucas has just played in the slot for us. So how do you feel about Chase Lucas?
I love Chase coming back. He's a guy who, watching him in preseason, I was actually bummed when I saw, I figured, okay, he gets cut. We are going to try to get him back on the practice squad, which is what happens. And I like him. I like what he brings to the table. So I'm really excited to see him get this year's debut under his, because he has shown, even I think it was against Carolina, he had that pick right in the preseason. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that he does where you'll see minor mistakes, minor mental mistakes, but the athleticism is there. And I think if we can connect those two, Chase Lucas can be really good. So you know what? In light of it, like you're saying, I'm like, all right, at least we get Chase Lucas, give him a chance, see what he can do.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm with you. He looked good in the preseason. And I feel like with him, it's almost like his role. It feels like with him, the issue comes down to it's like the role that he plays, because we know teams they value that kind of slot role defensively, but like we saw this year in the draft, Brian Branch going to second round, he was the first player that was purely that position, and he was outstanding. And he was 21 years old coming out. Usually at any other position, you're thinking, dang, that guy's going high. But
Yeah.
in the NFL, it's like not on the field all the time, so those guys don't go as high. So it feels like his role is kind of specific, and
Yeah.
I think that's fine though, because when he's in that role, like he's looked good, and it just feels like we are so strong at that position that he couldn't make the team. So when you looked at a Khalil Dorsey, you're like, well, he's doing it on the outside, and Chase Lucas isn't even touching the outside. So it's hard to keep him over these guys. But if I have to put him out there, do I feel confident, Lucas? Yes, I would like to see him because going back to last preseason, he looked good too, and it was just like, man, I want to see more of this guy.
100%.
Hey, man.
100%.
This is okay. Now this, I'm kind of putting you on the spot. I may not. Oh wait, I want to see what this was said. He says, "I may not predict a loss either this year." Those. Hey man, see, I'm telling you, we have a solid squad, and you know what? My man, Let's Talk Lions just got me right there because, like he said, we can go toe to toe with anybody. And when you say that, that makes it impossible for me to predict the loss because then I can always point to something that we can do to make us win. Like if we knew we were like kind of whack, we would play a great team, and I'd be like, okay, I just don't know that we match up, so I can really predict the loss here. But when you feel like, man, we can play with anybody, it's hard. It's hard. Like, how do I lean 50-50 the other way? I'm not doing that. Eddie, I'm not doing it. All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot, but I want to talk some, like, players or maybe specifically, like, matchups, like, things to watch in this game. Now, we don't have to go, like, that specific in terms of, like, who they're going against and that kind of thing. But we can start, I think, on the offensive side of the ball because we kind of just went through the offensive line there. I mean, is there a player that you're focused on the offensive side of the ball that you're like, man, this guy either is going to be a key of this game, good or bad, or you think he's a player that's going to be big today, like maybe put a big stat line?
Jahmyr Gibbs. And I just think that last week he had that one touchdown in sight, and he was just too quick for himself and his legs. He just, he fell down. He tripped himself up.
Right.
But I think we got our first little dosage of him. It's kind of like a vaccine where like you get hit and they're like, hey, we're going to put the virus in you. Not a lot, enough to make your body fight it. But then this week, it's all virus, baby. Weird analogy, but that's what you get. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to pop off this game, especially like I'm a little weary just because of the O-line situation, knowing that the left side's not held down and anchored by Taylor Decker. But I expect to see more of Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm very interested in seeing our wide receiver core versus their secondary core. How are they going to fare? Because I think Witherspoon's getting his debut today for Seattle.
Yeah. Yep, he is. Oh, so look, man, I'm telling you, he stole my notes before we got in here because here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna share my screen because I put together my little list, right? And one of the matchups that I actually like put down on there that I'm like, man, this is the one.
There it is.
You just said St. Brown versus Witherspoon. I mean, that needs to get attention because I feel like we're gonna see that a lot today.
Yeah,
man, that's huge. Like we thought we may end up picking that guy. I mean, to me, you're gonna see that match with a lot. And now we're gonna see him against probably our best player offensively. So it's like this is an absolute amazing matchup because last week from that position, Kobe Bryant was starting for them, and I thought Kobe Bryant looked rough, man. I was like, man, they're going at him. I think there's a real reason that, and I didn't know because I don't follow Seattle like that. Like I know about them, but then I'm not watching Seattle be like, man, who should they really go get here? But when you watch back, like last week specifically, and you start to see Kobe Bryant working in that slot role, which I think is where Witherspoon's going to step in, you're like, oh, okay, I can see why they want to replace that. You're like, it makes a ton of sense because, they like Reek Woolen on the outside. They'd have some big hitters at safety, with Quandre Diggs, and then Jamal Adams isn't playing today, which is big too. But it's like you can see why they want someone new there. That is massive. So, okay, let's go there then. Let's go there right now. So, not having Jamal Adams means Julian Love will likely start in this game. I mean, why is that huge? You said that's huge. Why is it huge?
Oh, because Jamal Adams is a dog. He is a beast. And so it's really got me wondering, okay, what was their plan going to be against St. Brown? If they were looking 2 weeks in advance, is it double teaming him? Like where, and if so, where's Jamal Adams going? Because listen, our wide receiver core is fascinating. Oh man, this could dive real deep, and I'm going to try to not go too far underwater. Because you know what, J-Mo's not playing, so I don't want to get into it.
Right.
I look at our wide receiver core. We got a lot out of Josh Reynolds last week. Guy had 80 plus receiving yards. Marvin Jones obviously coughed up that one ball. Let's just move past it. And then I'm trying to think after that, we got St. Brown and who am I missing? Khalif. We got a bunch of speedy guys on this squad. So what do they decide to do? No Jamal Adams opens up a plethora of possibilities for this wide receiver core. And I really think to see some receiving yards from Jahmyr Gibbs. So I'm excited knowing that he is not playing today is big for the Lions. It's big for our wide receivers. And really, man, I want to see what Ben Johnson cooks up when it comes to passing, the passing game today.
Right. Yeah, no, and I think one thing that you said earlier in the show, like I'll touch on that with the offensive line. Like we know when he has pass protection. So that's like the key, right? It's like, okay, if Goff has time, I expect this to go well, especially without having Adams. Because when I was watching Love, like it was mainly just we know they like to play a lot of zone coverage. We know who Seattle is historically, but it was mainly just like there wasn't a lot of like, oh, he's breaking on the ball. Look at him jump that route. Like you just didn't see anticipation. It was like things were happening and then he was making the play. And I'm looking at our offense last week, and I know you had to take away the same thing because you took all my notes. So you had to have from last week too. I mean, the timing that the offense had though, right? Like it felt like for week one with some of those throws, like the timing was on point. And I'm like, you're heading against this team, and if guys aren't jumping routes in the back end, and you're holding Bobby Wagner, who doesn't look like he's moving the same, you're going to have a ton of success as long as you pass protect Jared Goff. So I'm with you, too. Like, that is a massive loss for them, but I don't think it shows up as much as the backup tackles, and I'm going to get to that in a second here, but my man says, hey, Jay, love the show. Do you think Brian has a chance for a defensive rookie? Oh, wait, I read that completely wrong. My bad. Do you think Brian Branch has a chance to win defensive rookie of the year?
If he does what he did last week, every single game, then yeah, duh. No, I do think, Branch, I'm trying to think about some of the other biggest defensive rookies that have come in. Witherspoon being one of them. Branch, yeah, I think he does have a shot. I mean, if he consistently plays just to the caliber that he was last week, even like, man, that kid hits hard. He hits people hard. And like that pick six is interesting because if you go back and my buddy sent me a photo and you look at the freeze frame, it was actually like they took a photo of the ball in his hands and it looked like it was just a 15 or a 10-yard reception. The fact that became a pick six is all on Tony. Branch was in the right place at the right time. It was well done by him to be there for that ball. But I do think Brian Branch is one of the best defensive players from this rookie class. So let's see. There's some solid guys, though. Obviously, I was a big fan of what was that kid out of Georgia who went to Philly? It wasn't Jordan Davis, was it?
Carter.
Jalen Carter. I'm thinking,
Jordan.
Yeah, Jalen Carter. He was somebody that I wanted, and I think he is going to prove well for Philadelphia. But no, I think Brian Branch is definitely he's got a shot. I don't know what that shot is. Did I put money on it? Yeah.
Yo, wait, hold up now. Yo, so. No, but I think you made a good point there because I'm thinking like trying to go through defensive players that were drafted because usually it's the pass rushers that have the easiest path. Like Will Anderson, he gets 7 sacks, he's probably winning the Rookie of the Year award. Yeah. But Jalen Carter, it's going to come down to snaps for him because he was dominant last week, so it's going to come down to how many snaps he gets. So if he's not getting those snaps, you could then look at a lot of these guys are like defensive backs. Like I'm going to ask you this: who do you think has a better shot? And I know it's tough right now because one started and the other one is kind of a rotational piece. But who would have a better shot right now throughout the season, Jack Campbell or Brian Branch to win this award?
Oh, you dog. That's so mean of you. How could you do that to me? Pit me against our two boys.
Man.
God. It is interesting, obviously, because of the positions and you're right, rotational. Watching Jack Campbell last week, man, I am so hyped on him. That third down play where he laid out deflecting that ball. Who has the better shot? I would say Brian Branch due to the position in which he's playing. However, if Jack Campbell just keeps doing what he's doing, I mean, he's in the contest. He's in the contest for it.
Yep. Yeah. No, I'm with you. And that's why it's like, it feels like because of his role, a lot of these cornerbacks, whether that be the Witherspoons, the Gonzalez, like they're going to, because like my man just said, Sauce Gardner won it last year. I think Rick Woolen was actually second. I could be wrong, but I think he was second with a ton of interceptions last year. Like, I'm going to throw this out there. I could be wrong. I think a lot of, because I don't know exactly who votes, but I think it's a lot of like media or whatever that votes on that. Yeah. I do think that a lot of the Pro Football Focus grades have taken over a lot of what people are kind of buying into in terms of who they
Sure.
give that award out to. Yeah, because I think Sauce Gardner's grade was like insane compared to everybody else. So it's like they didn't
Yeah.
need to see the interceptions because the perception was there, right? I mean, it's like, hey, this guy, who he is off the field, like, okay, he's got a brand, Sauce, and then on top of that, it's like his PFF grade's insane. So we don't even need to see it. We
Yeah.
just know that he's a dog. So I think
Yeah.
because of that, it feels like it's opening the door a little bit more. But okay, so we got to talk about this offensive line though, because it does look like they're playing two backup offense. Well, we know they're playing two backup, just which ones, without having Abe Lucas and without having Charles Cross in this game. All right, I don't want to be the guy that's like going crazy because like we got to see it. I'm sure they're gonna have a plan. I know they're gonna get the ball out quickly. They're gonna run the ball. So they're gonna do whatever they can, I think, to make sure that man Aiden Hutchinson doesn't go absolutely crazy today. They're gonna try. But the reason I gave that score prediction, that one that we both have, is because I'm like, man, if we get up in this game, they do not want to play from behind. Not without two backup tackles. Not when they're forced to get outside of checking it down to the tight ends. They do not want to play in that way in this game. And I think if they do, Aiden Hutchinson is going to get a lot of that right tackle that looked rough last week. I mean, what is your anticipation for Hutchinson? Is he a guy that goes crazy today, or is it someone else that gets opened up because of him on the line?
Do we know if Romeo is playing today? Do we know if he's actually
so
going to
I'm
be
going
in
to check
there
right now.
Yeah,
Someone just said Broderick Martin and Buggs are inactive, so I would assume that he is. I'm going to check.
Okay. Yeah, no, I do think with Hutch, as long as their right tackle doesn't do the pee-pee dance on the side again, Hutch is going to eat. Not everybody can get away with what that man got away with for Kansas City last week. But Hutch, and even still, like Hutch, the way he played against a guy who was constantly moving, lined up incorrectly. Oh, what do we got here? Bugs, Decker, Gilmore.
I'm like definitely making it smaller.
Man.
Okay. That's something. Yeah, so this is the inactives. I mean, we can roll through this real quick, actually, if you want to do that. Just see what's on. We got Isaiah. But Bugs for the second straight week. Now, I think, but now here's I'll maybe at this point. So obviously last week we saw a lot of Benito. If you go back to last time we played this team, I don't remember if Bugs was healthy or not. That could have been a part of it, but it was a lot of Benito Jones and Ali McNeil. So it wouldn't surprise me again if you're looking at like, okay, we're kind of going the same path. But I think the biggest thing there is then just the depth behind it. Like you really don't have another defense outside of Levi, but Taylor Decker, Stephen Gilmore. So we talked about this. So Will Harris will be up, assuming Chase Lucas is up then.
Right.
Broderick Martin and then Mosley. I mean, anything that stands out. I mean, Mosley we kind of already knew, but any of those stand out?
Yeah, the Isaiah Bugs one, man. Like that one is such an oddity to me because the way everything went down right before the season started, him not being I heard somebody tell me a rumor. I don't know what you know or what you've heard, but somebody was telling me like, oh, he wasn't like showing up during, mandatory minicamp, or like he missed a day here during training, something like that. They were just like, oh yeah, supposedly his attitude. And I was like, okay, I don't know where you heard this. Sounds like you follow some sort of pop culture, YouTube channel. Then I don't know. I didn't believe it. I didn't buy it because I was like, I haven't heard this anywhere. I've never heard that about Bugs and his character. So what the heck is going on with Bugs? Because man, I like him. I like what we saw out of him last year. He came up in a big way. I don't know. Somebody said he wasn't watching tape. I'm like, where did we get this information?
Man, I'm with you there. Like I can't, there's zero evidence for me to point to anything there. And I don't want to, because I don't know. So I won't go down that path. I'll just speak on what I know. And shout out to Francista. Say that right? 531 Francista. Shout out Francista with the 20 piece. Hey, hooking you up with some nuggets. That's what that is. Ooh. Or hey, look, real quick. Do you have Canes near you? You have to have Canes near you, right?
Kings was we had that in Jersey. We don't have that in Michigan. Canes. No.
You don't have Cane? Oh, see, because I was wondering, like, if you ever had it and you were like, okay, how did you feel about it?
What is it?
Never had it? It's like it's just like chicken tenders, basically. It's just chicken tenders, man.
Is it like fast food?
Yeah, it's fast food. It's fast food.
Listen,
but it's like, man,
chicken. Yeah, dude, I love chicken. Oh, yeah, okay. I was gonna go down a weird tangent. I'm not gonna go down.
Well, they're popping right now, man. I guess they're just like, I was talking to a guy that like was owning franchises yesterday, 2 days ago, randomly. at the drive-thru. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm opening all these canes." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I see you." But anyways, it's good. So I want, that's not really has anything to do with it. We appreciate you. Again, I think that's a little paperclip in there. So I think they're showing some love to you right there. Okay, what were we talking about? I don't
Matt
remember.
Nichols. Matt Nichols. That's an interesting
This.
comment right there. Feels like Bugs thought he bought a starting spot by taking a team-friendly deal to come back. According to Dan, the tape was how they decided, so maybe he didn't have the effort they wanted. That's interesting. You're right. He did get that 2-year deal, so maybe he just thought he was one of the guys and was like, yeah, I got this locked down. And then, Dan, because Dan Campbell did say, hey, we were looking at the tape and this is the direction we're going. Didn't say anything too negative, but it kind of led to the assumption of, okay, he's not, pulling his weight basically. And there's a lot of weight to pull there.
Right. Yeah. And now the most interesting thing to me with that is, especially without Josh Pascal, because when I look at it, like, I think you could easily point to, and that's right, like very team friendly. I think next year's cap number goes up, but it's like this year it's less than 2 million. It's very, very team friendly.
Yeah, it's good.
But I think it's great for the line. It's a great deal. But I think when you look at Benito, like, I think he absolutely just deserves to be on the field. Like even last year where it was more like splashy, and then what he did in the preseason, like Benito's a different body type too than Bugs. He brings a different skill set to me to the table. I think he's a more explosive athlete than Isaiah Bugs is at a bigger build. I think he's just a different type of piece. He's more of like a pure nose tackle to me. Whereas Isaiah Bugs, remember they came in and they were like, okay, we don't want him to have to be the full-time starter. I thought that was a big reason they drafted Broderick. But I think with Levi stepping in, you kind of ask yourself, like, do I really want that, pure, he's going to play next to the center all the game long? Do I really, if I want that, is Isaiah Bugs best suited for that? And I think you can make the case that against who you're playing, he's probably not. So the weird thing for me is just the depth there, because you get beyond Levi, and I don't think we have really anybody that's actually activated that even plays that role. I mean, I guess you could put Kaminsky there, depending on what you're asking him to do. You don't have a guy with that size. So I don't know. But here's my thing. I think at some point this year we're going to see Bugs, whether that's because we're forced to with injuries or that's because whoever we're playing, he'll be on the field at some point this year. And I think at some point we'll probably end up seeing Broderick too, maybe closer towards the end of the year. But I think we'll see him at some point this season. Yeah, but that's an interesting one. So those are the inactives. Let's talk a little bit defense now. I know we talked a little. Oh, the backup tackle position. I want to get your thoughts on that one. So, like, what are we looking? Are we looking at Hutchinson going for like setting some kind of record? Did you know this? I want to say this. I believe the franchise record is 5 quarterback hits in a game. 5 quarterback hits. Now, I predicted that it would be a lean that would hit that, but as a team, it's only 5. And so, are we looking at someone hitting 6 today? And who would that be?
I mean, if I had to give it to somebody today, it's gonna be Hutch, based on what I saw last week, what he was doing at a serious, but like truly at a serious disadvantage due to Taylor, that right tackle. I think that looking at what Hutch was able to do at disadvantage, the way by the second half he was getting to Mahomes, like, I think there's this level of pissed off and gonna show out today. So that's what I'm really banking on from Hutch. I didn't know that about the QB hit record. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really okay. I'm gonna do this then. Can you guess what player tied that record most recently? And I'll give you a hint. It's in the last few years, and he's definitely not a guy that's on the team anymore.
Don't say Trey Flowers.
You're probably overlooking him. It's not Trey Flowers.
Thank God.
He may have done it at some point, but it's not Trey Flowers. The guy that I'm thinking of is not Trey Flowers. He was here for a very short stint.
He's not here anymore?
No, he's not here anymore.
Who is it?
It's Everson Griffin.
Oh, God. What an interesting time that was when we brought him in. And I was so hyped, and he let me down so hard.
I think it was the first game that he played and he had like 5 quarterback hits and tied the franchise record.
Oh my God, dude. And I think it was against Minnesota.
It definitely, I think it was. I think it was. Yeah, this former team. Oh yeah, because like I remember we needed like any edge rush help we could get. So when we saw him, it was like, thank goodness we finally added somebody in the first game. You had like 5 quarterback hits.
Bro, you're an animal. Way to come up with that stat.
Wow. Yeah, I just made it up, by the way, Chad. That's not true at all. No, that just no, it's true. It's true.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I'm just making up stats. Hey guys, guess what?
Yeah, I mean, you got me. I was
You
like,
know
you
what?
son of a gun.
We did. We played that off well. If it was made up.
Hey.
Um. Okay, so I want to ask you about the defensive side of the ball though. Outside of Hutch, okay, I think we expect like if they're forced to pass, this thing could get ugly. But
Yeah.
outside of that, like what players do you think are key in terms of maybe not that they will go crazy defensively, but you're like, hey man, that guy, these guys need to play well because of what they got on the other side. Because I think if we all look on paper and outside of their offensive line, right? Because their tackles are like, what is going on there? Their interior is kind of questionable. Outside of that, we look at their weapons, their backs, their quarterback, like their
Yeah.
tight ends. They have weapons all over the place. So which guys are
Mm.
you pointing to? Like they need to have a good game to help us out today.
I also need James Houston to pop off. Because if
Okay.
we can have that double pressure on the line, knowing that, and I know I don't want to get, we're kind of knowing that their offensive tackles, two of them starters are gone. If Hutch and Houston can apply that pressure on Geno quick, I mean, you saw what he had to do last week against the Rams. He was just throwing the ball in the dirt over and over again. He couldn't get anything cooking because they lost those two tackles in the middle of the game. So obviously their backups get a bunch of reps this week. So they're probably feeling more confident than just being thrown in there, Zach Wilson style. But I really do think like, if James Houston and Hutch can have good games and just apply pressure, Geno is going to have an off game. He's going to have a bad game. He's going to try to think and dunk. And then it comes down to linebacker core. Yeah. I want to see Anzalone step up and play like he was playing last year. Because last year, Anzalone had a great season. You go back, you look at his stats, you see what he did. Yeah. Anzalone was a key force. And I know his first year, people were like, get this guy out of here. He sucks. He really was. He had to bear a lot of weight the first season because we had nothing for a linebacker core. We had nobody. He had to do a lot. And no, it wasn't good because he was carrying the bulk of the weight. And so now with Derek Barnes stepping up, Derek Barnes is looking good. Jack Campbell already, like to me, I'm like, this guy's good to go. Malcolm Rodriguez, lest we forget. I think the linebacker core has really got to have a solid game because I expect a lot of crossing, a lot of short dink and dunk, maybe toss screens to Kenneth Walker and stuff like that. So I want to see the linebackers step up huge.
This is kind of unreal. I'm actually going to share the screen one more time, and you can see right what I put at the bottom here. Linebackers versus scheme, man. That is one of my keys defensively because
let's go.
You nailed it. But and you know what? We saw it last year because you hit on it exactly how I see it. The way that this offense likes to play, man, you're stressing the heck out of those linebackers. Malcolm was key last year. Like he made some key plays in this game. Remember, he blew up the one screen. He had the force. I mean, we didn't force any punts, but he gave us a turnover on a punt. And he's playing a lot on special teams right now, so maybe he comes through again. We saw a lot of Barnes last week. He looked really good against the run. But those linebackers get stressed, and I think you made a great point there. Is that we did put a lot on Alex's shoulders. And if you remember, even last year when we watched us play Seattle, it just feel like there was a lot going on for those guys in the front. They played a ton of man coverage, and they put a lot of stress, it felt like, on those linebackers. Like, hey, man, you got to go get that running back who's flying out of the back. Oh, now you got to deal with this tight end. And there were so many, like, pick plays that they would create. There was so much movement because it's like as a linebacker, it's like, oh, okay, I got to fill to play to run here. Well, then all of a sudden, they put three backs in the backfield. Like, they're one of the teams that run pistol. Like, no one really does that anymore except for Seattle. They run pistol. They'll put three backs back there. And now as a linebacker, you got to deal with all that mess. So it's like the stress that they put on those guys. My hope is the defensive line keeps them clean a little bit, helps them out. We dominate that battle. Obviously, at the tackle position, we can keep everything inside. But I'm like, man, if we dominate against Evan Brown, the former Lion, he's their center over there. They have Haynes at right guard, who's solid. And then at left guard, he was getting destroyed last week, Lewis by Aaron Donald. Like, if that D line wins that battle as a whole, hopefully it helps those guys. But at the same time, with like how long these linebackers have now been around, like Barnes going into year 3, which, by the way, side point. I mean, look, I think when we talk about like players developing, there isn't a better example, I think, than Derek Barnes. There isn't, man. I mean, like the steps that he's taken, and I know it's only been one game this year, but last year, massive strides against the run. Week one this year, it's just how comfortable things are. He's playing so fast. You're like, dude, he looks elite as a run defender. Like this guy has really went from he's a DN. Now you're trying to have him play linebacker. And Dan Campbell's like, man, he's going to be the Mike of this team. And then it was like, okay, man, he ain't really ready. And now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, healed up. He's holding off a first-round pick. He's doing what he can to hold off a first-round pick. That first-round pick is going to get his time because he's just, to me, just a better athlete in coverage. But
Yeah.
this guy's holding him off because of what he's turned into specifically against the run. And it could be a huge day today for him. So I'm with you. I stress the linebackers. I mean, is there another player or that player that you look at and you say, like, man, look at the development right there? Like, you can circle.
Oh, it would be Derek Barnes. That's the guy I would go to as well. I think you are correct in saying there's no better example, specifically on this Lions squad right now, as to guys who have developed. Heck, I mean, you think about some of the guys that never developed and we had to ship away, Okudah, DeAndre Swift, like these guys that, I mean, DeAndre Swift was for different reasons. I don't think he needed developing. He just needed to stay healthy. But Okudah never really became what we needed him to be. So I look at this squad and I would say Derek Barnes because I expected too much out of him his first year. And then I think even last year, I expected more out of him than we saw. But this offseason, and I heard a lot of chatter about him developing mentally, the way he was seeing the game, the way he was studying film, and he showed it week 1 against Kansas City. So this is a big game for him. This is a big game to say, hey, I didn't just have all offseason to look at KC. Like now I've had time. I've had a week in between. I'm looking at film on the Seattle squad. What is he able to do? Where is his mental game at? Because that's where I saw a lot of lapse in him was mentally just being in the wrong place, So yeah, Derek Barnes is that's a great example, dude.
Yeah. And I think just a quick to your point, and we can kind of get moving with this, but even with Derek Barnes, like it felt like last year in coverage, like there were certain things that he could do well, but it was almost like taking something out of it. It was like, okay, you're just gonna like run the middle of the field in this coverage. Like we're not gonna ask a ton here, just use your top end speed. But it's like now this year, it feels like with what they're asking of their linebackers, it's helping him. But at the same time, like, yeah, it's feeling like he's becoming so well rounded. And that in that case, I give a lot of credit to him because again, they drafted a first round player. You could easily like kind of pack it in after that. I would think like, okay, my spot is somewhere else. But then on the flip side, look at a guy like Levi, and I will say this more so, it's not that necessarily, the Lions had a guy to directly replace him. I mean, they added bodies like Christian Covington, but for him just to battle back in terms of I'm going to get healthy, like this isn't the end for me. You know what I mean? Like to me,
right.
Like a lot of credit to that player because this could have easily been it. Like you could have easily came into the offseason and say, hey, we got to replace this guy. And the Lions had trust not to, at least at a high level. And then it's like, okay, now we see this week once again, Bugs is inactive. You know who's not active? It's Levi for the second straight week. And he had a quarterback hit last week against a really good offensive line. So, man, I think there's some good ones on there. One guy I'm still interested in is Iffy, though. I know he's not going to really play unless something happens, but I want to see Iffy out there a little bit. I think that's – I haven't seen the Seattle Seahawks inactives, but I think we should start to kind of roll into this. And that is kind of our score predictions for this game. And what I also want to get from you is – give me a player, offense or defense, that you think has a big game today. Maybe you can give me a stat prediction, but I want to get your final score prediction, even though some people have already heard it. Before I do that, though, shout out to my man KV also with the 50 piece. That's a lot of nuggets, my guy. Dynamic duo. I see you. Or hey, I appreciate you. Shout out to he's always in here showing love, man. And no, this is sweet. Shout out to my man. This was on very short notice. Like y'all don't see the behind it. This is very short notice, and he was like, "I'm down. I'll jump in here." So I'm just glad that he's here. And look, the background always looks good. So the issue is like sometimes I kind of want to pull a Rad and just do one of these things where I just turn my camera off because then it's like, oh wow, you see my side and you're like, oh dang,
like get out of here.
My man's got a plant in the background, dog. When am I gonna get a plant back here? All right, that's what I'm missing. I need like a little cacti or something. What are we doing? It looks good.
Get that green
it looks
pop.
good, man. It looks real.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hey man, happy to be here. This has been great.
Oh my goodness! All right, so let's get your score. Let's get a play. I can go. I'll go first. I'll let you think about it.
You take it.
I put you on the spot. Yeah. Let me not do that to you. I've done it multiple times already today.
Good.
Real quick here. Do you think Green will get any snaps today? Man, it's a great question. I mean, look, if we can get up in a game, like it would be a good time to set him in there. I don't really know how to answer that one because nothing I've seen would make me. I mean, like last week, okay, Marvin Jones Jr. had the drops, so you could have said like, okay, that'd be a time, but. I don't know, man. Maybe like 2 or 3 in a game. I don't know where. I don't know outside of an injury where he finds a role for us because I think there's a lot of development that he needs too as just a route runner. I don't know, man. It's a great question. I just don't know. But I'll say this. So here's my score prediction. It's 27-17 Lions, so It's an odd one, but it's 27-17 Lions. And the players that I think have a big game. Now, I put a couple down, so I'm kind of cheating here. But I won't go with the guys that you already said. Offensively, I'm going Sam Laporta. Last week I started him in fantasy over Darren Waller. It actually worked. I'm like, yo, now he didn't go crazy, but he actually had more production than Darren Waller did. So it kind of worked for me. And then on the defensive side of the ball, we talked about linebackers, so I got to circle those cornerbacks because that is like the key for me. I think schematically it's going to look different this time, but I think at the same time, we saw last year the amount of help we had to throw to DK and Lockett to deal with that.
Yeah.
It was a problem for everything else. And we played a lot more man. I don't think it's going to look the same. But Cam Sutton against DK Metcalf, right? I mean, he can't go up and press him and play him one-on-one. He's gonna get burnt, I think, if you're doing that. But in his role, can he handle him? Can he not get cooked? I think yes. And last time we played him, we didn't have Jerry Jacobs. You know, like that was a huge get back for us last week.
Hey,
so
Jerry Jacobs is big.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you brought him up, dude.
Now hold up. Well, what would you do? Because I'm thinking we'll probably see him a lot on Lockett. But if you had to, like, if I put you and you said, okay, you have to match up both these guys man to man. You have Jerry, you have Sutton, they have DK, you have Lockett. Who you putting on who?
Oh God, that's tough, man. Aye. So Lockett's interesting because I know he suffered a concussion. Do we know if he's in or out? I don't know.
See, look, them dang inactives need to step up. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna see.
That's something that needs to look into. I would go Cam Sutton to me is number one. Okay. Also, I'm pretty sure I don't know if my guy KV Alto, did he just drop a second $50? Because it sure looks like it. And I'm
snap! I thought that was the same one. I thought that was the same one. Yo, KV Alto, you need to stop, my guy. By the way, the logo is so clean. I mean, I don't know if I've ever like pointed out, but the little thing that's going on, whatever that is, it looks so good, man. I think he did. So shout out to KV Alto. That's crazy.
You're unreal. You know how many that you're insane, bro.
I know. Insane. See, and this is what he does to me. He does this stuff, and then I'm just like, I don't know what to say to that. Like I don't have like a cool clip or something that makes that like, hey man, this is worth what you just did.
I'm gonna make one. So. I'm gonna make one of me doing 3 push-ups.
I'll do push-ups for every dollar amount sent. Drop a quick 50. Here, let's do that. I know my man. Let's Talk Lions got a little mobile camera there, so let's tilt it down a little bit. All right,
that's true. That's true. Oh God, holy smokes! Okay, so Lockett's in. He's in.
Okay, so so these are the inactives for anybody that just joined. This is the Seattle inactives. I'll quickly. Devin Bush, I think that's a big one because he's kind of like their third down linebacker. He can cover well. Jamal Adams is out. We talked about that one. Boye Mafe is out, which is another one that was kind of a questionable one. So again, you talk about those edge rushers. There's real questions there. Nwosu is really good, but outside of that, they have like kind of. I think they have a lot of like our receivers, role pieces at edge rusher. McClendon Curtis. I think he was a rookie this year, like a backup tackle. Charles Cross and Ben Brown, Mike Morris. So a lot of those I think were kind of known. But yeah, so Tyler Lockett's out, or he's in.
He's in.
So what are we thinking? So what are we thinking for a guy that has a big game?
Yeah, do we think it's wild to put Cam Sutton on? I mean, Sutton's CB1, in my opinion. You know, he's quarterback 1. Oh man, I don't know. Yeah. I might go CJ Gardner. I don't
see. Okay, I kind of cheated with this question because it's like. I asked that, but hopefully the Lions aren't asking him to get within 2 yards and engage with DK Metcalf because that's not going to work. Unless you have a state, this is not going to work. So it's like in his role, like what we saw last week, right? He can get 5 yards off. He can play with some cushion. He's very patient. So it's like in that role, in his best role, who do you trust more, I think, with that matchup? And I would think they'll put Jerry. You'll see a lot of Jerry on Tyler. And you'll see Sutton on DK. Look, you paid the guy.
That's my guess.
You paid Sutton some legit money to be that guy. But I will say this. I wish we had Mosley for this game because I would love to see Mosley in this matchup. I would love to see it, man.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, personally, I'd probably go Cam on. I'd have to go Sutton on DK. I mean, you're talking one-on-one. And DK Metcalf I can't stand the guy. I really can't. Even last week, I saw like that hit he took on that one cornerback.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, you're just like, what are you doing, man? So to me, I would put our best on him. That's my go-to right there. Put Cam Sutton on him. Jerry Jacobs, dude. I think Jacobs and CJ Gardner-Johnson are interesting between the two of them and what, each of their strengths. I might go Jacobs on on Lockett. And I don't know where you stand on that one, but I think Jerry Jacobs
Yeah.
on Lockett could be, because Jerry Jacobs has proven himself time and time again. Guy was an undrafted free agent, and seeing
No,
what
he's
he has
legit.
become, he's another great example of a guy on this squad who has just gotten better, stepped into a role, and just keeps exceeding expectations that I placed on him, where I'm like, man, you have just blown me away.
That's very true. Quick, I want to address the chat just real quick here because I know they're saying put Branch on Lockett. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Lockett in the slot, but I will say, I mean, he can, but I'll say this: I think we're going to see a lot of Jackson Smith and Jigba on
Yeah.
Brian Branch today, which is another great match. I mean, we're talking two rookies, so we just flip it. We're
Yeah.
just like, look at the other side, look what we got there, and he already told us basically that hey, JSN's going to have a big game. That's what I heard from Seattle. They expecting that big game. He was quiet last week. And for how they
Yeah.
play their offense, they want to get the ball out quickly. JSN is going to be the guy that can do that outside of their tight end. So that's another awesome matchups. But I will say, like, this is a very unfair question. I did Let's Talk Live a little dirty with this one because they're not going to do that with their corners. You know, you're gonna play your two eye safeties. You're gonna play your cover six. You're gonna do things to have help. You know what I mean? So it's not gonna be like that. But I will say, so what player do you think has a big game today, offense or defense? And then give the people your score prediction.
Okay. Big game. Big game, I'm going Alex Anzalone. I think we're going to see a lot of him flying around the field this game. And I think he's going to have a big game covering that middle of the field. I'm excited to see what he does, the way he leads, man. Alex Anzalone has proven himself to be a guy. And so I think we're going to see him step up in a huge way. Score prediction. I know I mentioned it and I blew it earlier. I didn't save it for the end. That's on me. And I got the Lions winning this game 27-17 over Seattle.
Chat, throw your predictions in there right now, man. I want to see if anybody nails it and I can actually remember who it was.
What about you? What do you got?
I know you'll come back and tell me. You know what I'm saying? We might have the same prediction over here. And you know what? Maybe that's a sign. Maybe that's a sign like, hey man, you're finally gonna get one right. He has the same score prediction you do. That has to mean something that I'm thinking. And the reason for it is I was like, man, I think we can win offensive line and defensive line.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna play well with a lead in this game. I just don't think they want to be in that spot. That's why I went that direction. Is that why you're kind of feeling that too? That 20? Because that's a 10-point win. And I don't want to overlook Seattle because of what happened last week. Like that's a legit team.
They are legit. I just think there's something about us coming off of Kansas City, and it's not the type of where you come off it and you're on like a high and then you get punched in the gut. I think we're coming off of a huge W, a statement game for us, and then we're coming to our home opener and we're looking at them saying, you kept us out last year. We want to beat you. And we want to beat you well. And they're just going to come for Seattle, knowing that Jamal Adams is out and their two offensive tackles are gone. I think that stacks up huge for us. So that's where I'm going. 27-17. I think we win by 10.
I love it. A lot of good confident picks in here. My man's got the mask. Hey, did you buy one of those? You know, did you get a little blue mask?
No, I did not get a blue.
No,
they were sold out.
Oh
Plus,
man,
it would be way too hot in my home to be watching and like wearing that. It'd be weird too. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that.
It would be a little awkward, you know.
Yeah.
You got
my wife would
over
be like,
sitting on the couch with a mask on.
Yeah.
You know, hey, pass the Cheetos, dog. I'm just saying, it's a little bit weird. You lifted up the mask to eat a Cheeto. Like, come on, man. It's like, all right, dude, take the mask off. You're sweating.
Listen, I've dressed up as Albus Dumbledore before, and I got the beard on. And when you're trying to take a sip of your beer and you're pulling your beard down, it's not a good look. And the same goes for a ski mask. And if you're like, why'd you dress up as Dumbledore? Because we had a Harry Potter party. Get over it. God.
Oh, snap. Okay, you know, that's got to be a fire party, man.
It was really great, actually.
Man, did you guys do did you do theme related games at the party?
Yes, we had dude, it was actually insane. It was a ton of fun. We did a Philosopher's Stone, a Sorcerer's Stone party. So everything revolved around only the first Harry Potter. Everybody had to dress up as different characters. It was a great time. It was a great time.
Okay. Yeah, so you already know that parties, if you're just going to, hey man, we're gonna go to a party, it's like, all right, that's cool. But if you're going to a Harry Potter party, like if it's that specific, you already know we're coming there with plans, man. You already know we got the day lined out. You know what I'm saying?
It's freaking wild. Dude, and before we do hang up, I do have to give you a movie recommendation. I don't know if you've seen it, but Oppenheimer. We haven't talked
Oh,
since
I want to see
Oppenheimer
it.
came
I want
out.
to see it so bad, man. I know. I
Highly
know.
recommend.
I want to see it so bad. You was it like live up to the hype?
It lived up to the hype 100%. Cillian Murphy, phenomenal performance, and the whole thing just like experiencing what the man behind the A-bomb had to experience. I just think Christopher Nolan, as he always does, did a phenomenal job.
Oh man, see, people have been like hyping that thing. Man. I want to see it so bad. I want to watch it so bad. So you know what? Here's the thing. So after tomorrow, I'm gonna have some real freedom this week to make that happen. So I'm gonna absolutely make sure I go see that movie, and I want to see it in theaters if it's still there. Like it's one thing
If
to
it's
watch it
still
at home,
there,
but I've heard it's different at theaters, man. Like
yeah,
his movies are
yeah,
different at theaters, so I
they
want to
are.
see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Man, that's a good one. No, that's a good one. Chad, has anybody seen that? Give it a rating 1 out of 10. But anyways, we're gonna wrap this thing up. I look, man. I'm happy you joined. I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Shout out to everybody in the chat. And yeah, I mean, hopefully we're doing another super pumped up, kind of babbling a little bit, kind of just rambling on with our post game show because we're just so excited. We don't even, we just can't control. You know what I'm
100%.
saying? We're 2-0.
Yeah.
When's the last time we were 2-0? Do you know?
Oh God, I don't know. I have no idea. If we haven't won a season opener since 2017, I'm afraid to look at the stat. I'm
Oh,
tired of those
snap.
double-digit stats.
Wait, we haven't won it since 2017, the opener?
Yeah, that was
Wow.
the first time we won an opener was 2017. So
That was Cardinals. Wow.
I
That was
think it was
Galladay's big game.
2017. Oh,
I think that was
Galladay.
Galladay's big game. Yeah.
Oh, Galladay.
Young Galladay. Shout out to God. Yeah, I don't even know. That's why I asked you. I don't know on that one. I could just make up a year, but I don't know on that one. But yeah, we'll get out of here and I'll see you guys during the stream. And then after the stream, make sure you go to my guy's channel, Let's Talk Lions. I may be over there at some point. He sounds like he's doing a post game show, so definitely check him out. And hopefully we're talking about a win. All right. Oh, and shout out to everybody that donated or showed some love like that, man. We really appreciate you guys. I can see them all in here, so that's crazy. You guys are crazy, and everybody else that joined in.